So this is a presentation about Blackboard Collaborate, which many of you have used in your courses. But it's become a much more important tool for our teaching scenarios in this virtual online world that we are being placed in with the pandemic. But a lot of great things have arrived out of it, and I think Collaborate and synchronous sessions with Collaborate are, thank you, Francis, are a great thing to utilize. So you probably are familiar with Blackboard Collaborate in many ways, but just to kind of share some of the basics, Blackboard Collaborate can be a virtual synchronous session where participants can communicate with audio, video, and text chat. You can use it as a virtual whiteboard to brainstorm, present a lecture, complete formulas and calculations. You can record Collaborate sessions for later playback or review. You can share applications or files. You can ask questions via polling. You can create breakout rooms for groups of learners to collaborate together. You can also play multimedia and move through the web. So you may have noticed that Blackboard Collaborate and there's actually Blackboard Collaborate Ultra this semester, and that has caused a little bit of confusion. Just to give you a little bit of background on the functionality of Collaborate and Collaborate Ultra. So basically, you're probably more familiar with Collaborate, just the classic version that we used starting in the spring. So in that version, you would have one room dedicated to your course. Okay, so with Blackboard Collaborate, you have one room dedicated to your course, and you can edit the room and you can add a link to it from your course. And just this semester, we started adding Blackboard Collaborate Ultra. Now, Collaborate Ultra offers you the ability to have a dedicated course room, and it also allows you to schedule as many sessions as you'd like. So there's two different options of utilizing the room. So let's talk about Blackboard Collaborate Ultra. So you would go to your Blackboard Collaborate course, and you would click on a link in the toolbar. This link is in the toolbar of all current course shells. Now that's kind of a new situation. In March, you had to actually add that link to your course, but now they have been automatically loaded into your course shell. So in the middle picture, I have a visual of where that Collaborate Ultra link is positioned. So it's called Collaborate Ultra, and it's preloaded into your course toolbar on the left-hand side of your course. Now you need, so as you see in the picture that I've shown, there's like a check mark, there's like a horizontal check mark through the Collaborate Ultra link. You need to make that visible if you want your students to be able to access Collaborate Ultra from the toolbar. And in the right hand, I show a picture showing how to make that visible. So basically, you would click onto the right of that link, and you would get a pull down, and you would need to click on Show Link. Yes, I hear that somebody had a question.
Yeah, it's Julianne Murphy. I have been using the older Collaborate. I'm afraid to switch over to this Ultra now because my students are used to going in the older one. Can I just switch over next semester?
Yes, you can. And I would recommend it because I read some communication that said that the old Collaborate may not be in full functionality as of December.
Okay, but it will make it through the semester for me?
Yes,
okay.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, through November. I think it's about creating new rooms, so I think you should be okay.
Okay, thank you.
So, yes, another question? I heard somebody raise their hand. Yes.
Yes, this is Jane. So just to what you were just saying about muting, you as the moderator, is there a button you can push for mute all? Because sometimes that happens as well with me where there's background noise, but I don't know how to do a mute all on the students while I'm speaking.
I will talk about, yes, I will show where you can do that a little bit later. You can mute individual participants, and I didn't do that before this presentation. I should have muted all. But yes, that is something you can do, and you can also mute particular participants. And I will show you how to do that a little bit later in this presentation. Okay, so once you click on the Collaborate Ultra link in the toolbar, a box will pop up in the center of the screen with two choices, and I've shown this in the picture on the right. And this can kind of create a point of confusion. You will have a course room And you also have the option to create a session. That's a new feature, and that's one of the new added options with Collaborate Ultra. So the course room is kind of similar to the Collaborate Classic that we are using. It's just there all the time. You can go in and out of it if you don't lock it. You can lock it and make it not available. But if it's unlocked, it's just an open room that students can use. Otherwise, you can create sessions with a start and an end time, and you can have multiple sessions of those. So there are different ways to enter, and I'm going to show you a little bit about both. So if you're doing the course room, you click on that link, and you're going to get this pop-up that appears on the right-hand side of your screen, which I have illustrated on the right-hand side of this slide. And this will have, you will see where it says join course room. You can click on that and go straight into the room. As an administrator, you may want to have a way to send these links to people. And if you want to send this link, and you can send it in an email or somebody that's not part of the class, you would need to click on guest access and then click save. And then you'll see that it shows a Collaborate link. See that guest link? So that will show up. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about creating a session. That's another way to utilize Collaborate Ultra. So you can, if you click on create session, that box pops up again, but you have further options. You can create a start time and an end time for that session. Keep in mind that when you create times that end, if you make sure that the times are correct for when the course runs, and then also if you have an ending time, that if you're trying to access your sessions at a later date, if you have already ended the session, you're going to have to look in past sessions as opposed to current sessions. So also at the top in the illustration on the top right, you will need to enter new session. You will need to name the session, put the dates, and then create. Okay, so I've been showing the settings that pop up. They pop up for both the course room and the session room. You have the gear on the top right that gives you some other options about the actual session settings, and there you can allow guest access, allow recordings to be downloaded. You can do it defaults to attendee role. You can make it anonymous chat messages. You can enable utilizing a telephone for your audio if somebody cannot use a computer. It's settings about private chat settings, and then also about allowing a large amount of attendees to join. And then those are all session settings that they need to be set beforehand. Then there are other ones that you can change during the session, which include the moderator profile pictures and participant permission. So you can make somebody a presenter or a moderator in the middle of a session. So you can change those while it's running.
What is an anonymous chat message? Is that when you're chatting, but they don't know who you are?
What that has to do with is when it's recorded, that the chat messages won't show the name for the people that have done the chats. Yes. Okay, so talking a little bit about inviting guests to Blackboard Collaborate. I talked about it a little bit in previous screens, but basically in both the session setting and just the regular course room, you can invite guests, and they won't require authentication. This is not any different than the regular Collaborate Classic that you used last semester. So basically, you will need to make sure you check guest access. Do you see how the green in the red box on the right-hand side, you see how I've clicked the checkbox that says guest access. You can change the role from participant to moderator presenter. And then I've got the little hand over that stack of boxes. You need to hover over that. It will highlight, and then you can Control-C to copy, and you can Control-V that into, which is like paste, and you can place that in an email or other form of communication to share with your students. You could put it in a Blackboard announcement in your course as well. So this is something that is a little bit newer that some instructors have had some questions about, and so I thought I'd share this with you, where to find the recordings for the Blackboard Collaborate Ultra. So when you click on the, when you click on the link for Collaborate Ultra, you'll get this course room and the session menu. In the top left, which I've circled, there's a box with 3 lines. It's like a black box with 3 white lines. You will click on that, And then the sidebar opens up that says sessions or recordings. You will click on recordings and it'll show a list of the recordings that you've recorded. And keep in mind that when you do make a recording, they do not automatically show up. Sometimes it takes some time, it can take hours. I think sometimes it can even take 24, I would give it 24 hours, but depending on the length. Any questions so far? And I can't see the text box at the moment, so.
I have a question
Yes.
about the recordings. Can I put a title on the recordings, whatever I want, or how is that? Like I see the one you have on the screen, it says course room recording 1. Did you name it that, or can
No,
you
I
name
did
it
not.
whatever you
That's
want?
what I believe that you could probably rename them after you download them, but they're going to list, that's a standardization by Collaborate, by the Blackboard system, that has named it. So it's for the room. I think the title of the course room, if I say week 1, you know, like, or let's say molecules lesson 1, that will come up. It's whatever you title that session. And then it'll have recording 1, recording 2, recording 3, recording 4. That's the naming practice for those. But as far as renaming, you would have to like download those and rename those. Okay. So some of you like to make a Collaborate link elsewhere in your course as opposed to having the students enter the Collaborate room via the course tool, the toolbar on the left-hand side. You can do this. You can put a link to Collaborate anywhere in your course. So you would go to, like, let's say you want to put it, let's say you have folders that say week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and you have those in course materials. You could put them in an announcement, you could put them in course information, you could put them anywhere. But in this instance, I was thinking, week 1, and then I was going to put a Collaborate link in the week 1. So what you will do is you go to Tools, and you go to More Tools. And you have to be careful in that you select Blackboard Collaborate Ultra as opposed to Blackboard Collaborate Scheduling Manager. And this is because we still have Blackboard Classic. If you do Blackboard Collaborate Scheduling Manager, you're actually making a link to a room for Blackboard Classic. Now, if you're using Blackboard Classic, that's great. But I think there's been some confusion because they'll have the toolbar link that's for Blackboard Collaborate Ultra and then put a link to the Classic, and it's actually a different place. So students have been in different places. So you can choose to use sessions, you can choose to use course rooms, you can choose to use the old, the classic version for as long as we still have it, but you just have to communicate and make sure that all the students are going to the same place and you've made it very clear. Because it is possible for students to be in different locations. They could be in the main course room of Collaborate Ultra, they could be in a session, or they could be in Classic if there's miscommunication or mislinking, if that's clear.
Erin, this is Francis.
Hello, Francis.
I did start with sessions, and I thought, oh, this will be really cool. It'll be each week, and it's labeled. And I had people sitting in the regular course room, so I ended up abandoning the sessions completely.
One of the things you could do is lock the main course room so they can't access it, and make sure there isn't a link to the class. I know this is very confusing, and this is just part of the dilemma with having too many options at this point. You could lock that main course room, and then they wouldn't be able to access it. Or you could hide the toolbar and only have links to the items that you want to have links to. You could do it that way. Yes, I hear a hand raised.
Okay, it's Julianne Murphy. What would be a benefit of running a session rather than just using the main room? Because I'm thinking I'm just going to use the main room too.
It's just if you don't want people to be able to enter before a certain time. I think, like, let's say if you had, you can limit who's in it. You can make it very, very private. If, like, let's say the counseling department, they could have sessions that are assigned to people. It kind of puts more parameters on it with the course, the session. But if you want to use a course room, that's great. I just think that making communication to your students that that's what you're using and linking to it and being consistent, I think it's fine if that's what you prefer. It's kind of similar. It's the most similar to the classic where it was just kind of an open room.
Thank you.
Okay, so just a little bit more. So like just kind of a repetition. You have the option of the course room, you have the option of create session. And so basically I've just kind of put the two to show you. If you click on course room, you get this join course room. You can do the guest access, you can find the dial in, you can copy the link. This is what you see and you save it. If you go to create session, it's very similar. You get the join session, the guest access, you can create times and starts and ends, and there's more details like that. So they are very similar. And the settings, you know, the little dial, the little gear that's at the top right, they're almost identical for both sessions and room. So let's move on. So now we're in the room. We've clicked on and we've gone into Collaborate. This is what you see, and I'm sure you're all very familiar with it. You had this experience when you walked into this room today. So first of all, speaking of the audio and video controls, those are in this middle center. And I was talking to Michael and Monroe about this earlier. If there's a slash mark through it, it means I cannot see you or I cannot hear you. But if you click on that, then I can hear you or I can see you as long as your camera and your microphone have been correctly set up. Then the little guy to the right with his hand up, her hand up, that is how you can indicate that you have a question without just prompt chiming in with a mic. Okay, now we're going to talk about the session menu, which was the item on the top left. So when you click on that little session menu in the top left, you get these options. This is where you start the recording. You can find information about dialing in. And then this is also, this is where you leave the session. So those are the main controls. You can get some help information as well. But those, it basically is just the starting recording and the leaving session that are pretty important on the session menu. Now, I've kind of on the right-hand side. This is the Collaborate panel. See in the bottom right with the purple little tab? I've kind of broken it down into when you click on that purple little tab, you get a series of options. So you have the option of chats, which you know, shows a lot of information about how to chat. You can chat directly to the moderator or everyone. Then you have the attendee list, you have the share content, and you have settings. And we're going to talk about each of these, or most of these, in further depth as I move on. So looking at the participants, I think chat is pretty straightforward. You can chat to everybody, you can chat to moderators. So I'm not going to go into much detail with that. I think you can all figure that out. But changing participant settings, and this is what we were talking about with muting. So I had a session with one person. I had her join so I could make this illustration. So you can see on the illustration on the left, do you see this, the red circle kind of top third down that I've circled that has like a circle with 3 dots? When you click on that little circle, you get the options that are all the way to the far right. You can make this person a moderator, you can make this person a presenter, you can remove them from the session, or you can mute them. Now, making them a moderator means that they can, if another one of you was a moderator, you could like stop sharing the session, you can record, you could do all kinds of things. If you are a presenter, you can't like stop the session or stop the recording or move people or kick them out or anything like that, but you can share your screen and give a presentation. If you are just a regular presenter, a regular participant, which Laura is right now in this picture in the middle, that means that's such as all of you, in which you can hear and speak to me and see the presentation, but you can't really do a presentation. And again, you can mute. So in the middle picture in the top where it says 2 attendees, if you click on that circle, I didn't highlight that, but let's just mention this because one of you had asked about this. If you click on that, you can mute all from there. So that's where you can click on that and you'll get a mute all option. Okay, now about content sharing. There are a bunch of ways you can share content, and on the picture on the right, you see it's a little box with the arrow. I've circled that. So this is the middle tab in this area. So you can share the whiteboard, you can share an application as screen, or you can share a file. You can do a poll through Collaborate. You can create breakout rooms or groups. You can share feed from an additional camera, which we're going to talk about, which is a newer feature. And you can click on the chosen content sharing option and proceed. So let's talk about sharing the whiteboard. Have many of you used that function?
Yes.
The whiteboard?
Yes.
And how do you feel about it? Do you like it?
You know, I like it. My only concern with it is erasing. I feel like if I only want to erase like 1 or 2 portions, I think the whole board goes clean. And that, unless I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah. No, that is part of the function of the whiteboard. It's not as sensitive and intuitive, or just as sensitive and as responsive as, let's say, the Epson board that we would have in the classroom. I do know it's good for, you know, some one-off type of information. I know that people have found workarounds where they will use an iPod and have a program and use that and draw in it, or use a Wacom tablet, or I know some people have downloaded the Epson, the Smart Notebook software, done it this way. So this is a somewhat limited option. But it is one way you can share some information.
Is
Yes,
Whiteboard
Michael?
like Smartboard or something else?
It's a specific application within this. Whiteboard is a specific Blackboard Collaborate built application. So its functionality is very, very specific to Collaborate. Okay. So I have talked about, I have a stop sharing button that runs throughout all the content sharing. And you can see that in the top right, circle with the little white square. If you click on that, that'll stop sharing the screen, the whiteboard, the file, any application you're doing in a sharing context. Okay, now we're going to talk about sharing your screen. So that would be in the middle. You see in the middle file, I know I've got a lot going on here. You have the middle area where it says share application screen. So like when you're sharing content, you have all those options. You'd hit share application or screen, and then the picture in the left would pop up that says share your screen. I would recommend choosing your entire screen. I think application window and the tab is limited, because then you have to like change it out. You have to stop sharing and go to a different tab. I prefer the sharing your entire screen, because then you can navigate through your computer. So I would click on your entire screen, and then as you see, I have a blue circle around that whole area. You need to click on that area and highlight it, and then actually just hearing your speakers projecting the sound, and that's kind of like me talk, you know, like kind of talking. They're like just getting that as that, and it's like kind of they're getting feedback. It's not great sound. So to do a direct audio feed from the YouTube video, you need to click that share audio button. Then the next step is you click that share button that's in the bottom right here, the bottom right corner. Click share, and then on the picture in the far right, you're going to get this crazy hall of mirrors, and that's normal. And what you need to do is you either toggle tabs, or you minimize that and go to your other application. Do not close it out, because that basically will just, you'll get you out of Blackboard and get you out of the whole thing. So that's not a good thing. So don't exit out, don't close it, just minimize it or toggle to a different tab. As you see in that picture, I have a bunch of tabs open. You could toggle to a different tab away from Collaborate, but you can't run that the way it is. Okay, now I'm going to talk about something that's kind of cool. Sharing a secondary camera. And my son kindly gave a little. I have a document camera here, and that's my laptop. And so you're able to do this in Blackboard. So this is kind of a workaround if you've been using the whiteboard to do calculations and you just don't feel like it's like up to standard. It's not working for you. I know there's all kinds of hacks, but this is a way that you can utilize some of the functionality within Collaborate and share, you know, doing drawings, doing calculations, doing something by hand. So to do the setting up a second camera, I would recommend you make sure if you have it's either, you know, like a document camera or even a little webcam that you have, secondary camera, make sure it's plugged in before starting the Collaborate session. And I say this because I've had trouble when I'm in the Collaborate session. If I plug it in and into my USB, it doesn't recognize the camera. So you would plug it into one of your USB ports in your computer before entering the Collaborate session. And then, so under all these share content, as you see, the third one down is share a camera. Click on that. And then on the right, I show you the iPivo, which is the document scanner that was in that picture of my son's hand. And then the integrated webcam, which is my computer. And then you'll get the camera scan with the writing. Here are a couple of low-tech camera hacks that I've just kind of found lately. And if any of you are really, the one on the left, this is an iPivo mirror little hack. It's a little tiny it's a little tiny piece of plastic that's like 3D printed with a mirror in it. You hang it over your computer, and then you install some software, and it allows you to just kind of project anything that's sitting on top of your computer onto your computer screen. It's pretty cool. It like does a mirror reverse and everything. And then on the right, I thought this was funny. I found this where somebody used a CD, a pencil, some tape, and a coin, and made a mock-up kind of document camera just with a few household items and using their webcam of their computer. Now there is sharing a document, and this is many of you might have done this before. You've probably gone to presentations in the workshop where people have used sharing a file. I chose not to do the share file because I was finding my PowerPoint was cutting off at the top and the bottom. I wasn't getting the full range of everything in the file. I had too much information, so I decided to share my entire screen. But to share your file, again, it's the content area, and you would click on Share Files, and then you get this middle pop-up that says Add Files. You'll click on that, and then on the right is my computer. It shows just my desktop. It's basically, it shows all the available areas in which you can find a file on your computer. You could be external hard drive, it could be USB, it could be anywhere, and then you would find that file, click on it, open it, and it immediately starts uploading it to Collaborate. I heard somebody had a question. I heard a hand raised.
I do have a
Can't
question.
see, so.
Frances actually just wrote in the chat room that she put, I found sharing a PowerPoint has issues, so we save them as PDFs and share. And I kind of had a question about that too. I felt like when I was sharing a PowerPoint that my whole Collaborate would crash and I'd get kicked out, and that's why I typically share the screen. But as you know, then you can't see the chat room or raised hands. So is that a problem that people have if the file is too large, or is it just PowerPoint, or what's, where I would be getting kicked out?
I mean, I find it to be slower. I find it to be more problematic. So these are some of the kind of trade-offs with Collaborate at this point in time. If I were sharing my file, I can't, right now I cannot see any of your chat, and my apologies, I'm not answering if there are chats you're asking. I can't see it. I'm basically looking at my computer screen in entirety. It's just the PowerPoint. I can hear like the pop of the hand raised, and I can hear you, of course, when you speak to me. So that's the limitations. When I wasn't in full screen with my PowerPoint, and Frances kindly, told me I needed to be in full, but I was able to see the pop-up. When I'm not in full screen of my PowerPoint, I'm able to still get pop-ups of the chat. It showed me for chat, but when I went to full screen, I could not. And then, as you mentioned, Julianne, I do think that when you share a document, it can be very slow. And I feel like sometimes it kind of crashes, and it just depends on your connection, the time of day. I opted today just because I wanted to try to keep this running. I opted to share my screen because I thought that would function most effectively. But so there's kind of like a give and take on all of these different things.
So is a document like a PowerPoint or a file?
Yes.
Okay.
So you can add any file. And yeah. Okay, so now have any of you, yes, I hear somebody has commented.
Yes. Yes, I'm using PowerPoints from my department, and on one of the questions, well, not question, but one of the parts of the PowerPoint, it just doesn't let me in, and it just won. So the PowerPoints are excellent, the ones that I'm using, but there's always one, chapter 4, that the PowerPoint doesn't, it just doesn't let me in. So the file's too large, and so what can I do about that, if at all possible?
So by not letting you in, do you mean it doesn't let you upload it to Collaborate, or what exactly do you mean?
Yes, when I share it, I try to share it. It doesn't even go in. It doesn't upload, and this is not in Collaborate, but it's in my files that I have.
So it
Zoom, because I'm using Zoom.
Okay. Okay.
No,
So
I'm sorry, it's a huge file and have no problem loading. And I have so many, so many chapters, and they're all fine except this one chapter that I even tried to use in that this semester. It just doesn't want to upload so that I can share it.
So it doesn't want to upload into Collaborate. Or it doesn't want to upload into Blackboard, or just, I guess I'm a little confused. I can understand if it has some.
I just think the size of the file might be a problem.
Okay.
So that's my question.
I mean, you could,
yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I mean, Julianne was speaking of turning it into a PDF that does decrease the size of a file. I'm not quite certain if you're talking about in presentation or uploading it as materials for your course. I'm a little unclear as to where you're having the issue.
Lecture material, just lecture material. And I'm just not able to get in on just that one chapter, and it's chapter 4. And I had the problem last, yeah, it may very well be a corrupt file, so my wife says.
Okay. Well, we can, perhaps we could troubleshoot that, or maybe we could work on that later, and figure out what's going on. It might, as you mentioned, it may be an issue with a specific file. But
Sure.
I have noticed that there has been some issues with, sometimes it takes a very long time for a file to upload. I don't think we've ever, to Collaborate. I don't think I've ever had an instance where I haven't been able to upload it, but it's just, it can be, as Julianne had mentioned, it can be a little dicey with a connection and trying to run a session, and if you have a bunch of people and it's a busy time, a lot of factors can kind of come into play at once.
So, Erin, this is Francis.
Yes.
There are issues with large files. So my instructor who teaches, and you're going to hear a baby in the background. My instructor who teaches history has really intensive files, and I had one that was 120 slides in the PowerPoint, and it would not take it. So we had to first go into PowerPoint and down save it within PowerPoint, and then convert it to a PDF to get it to work. So there are some issues like that.
I see.
Okay. So, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to just work. I think I have 2 more slides. I'm going to do a little bit more of this, and I'm going to close out my sharing screen, and we can talk about some of this troubleshooting, and maybe I can show you some things. So, and not just to finish this out, so I can actually see your faces and what you're typing. So, another option of content sharing is called, sharing a poll, and this is a nice feature. It's a one question, basically. You can ask one question that pops up in the middle of your screen. You have to type it in at the moment. It's not something you can preload, which is kind of, it is what it is. So you would click on polling, and then you are given the options of a multiple choice or a yes, no, or basically like that. I just typed in, I use Collaborate in my class to lecture, to hold office hours, to record lectures. And then you click start in the bottom, if it's like the 3rd picture over, the 2nd one from the right. If you click start, then I've shown a picture on the far right that shows how this will appear in your class. And basically, I can do one after I shut down this session. Just basically, you click on it, and then it reflects who has clicked on which answers. So that's a nice little feature. You can just throw those into your Collaborate session just to kind of break up the routine and get students engaged. Okay, and then the last thing that I can speak of about sharing content, or doing content sharing, is to do breakout rooms. Have many of you used these breakout groups in your class?
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Work wonderfully.
Okay. And they work really well. So it's pretty easy. You just would click on breakout groups. You can either have them randomly assigned, or you can add group. You can have them randomly assigned, or you can forcibly put people into groups. Basically you go into a different kind of group room area, and then you as a moderator can pop in and talk to the different participants as they move through the group. Okay, so let me get out of this. Stop sharing. So here I am. Is there anything specifically you'd like me to review or talk about again? Okay, Monroe,
I think it was pretty.
show demonstration.
I just want to clarify, I think you mentioned once, document can also be PowerPoint or it can be a file. Is that correct?
So, okay, let me go over this a little bit more. So, I could show the file, but so basically you can share content in a multitude of ways. You can upload a document into Collaborate, and I showed how to upload a file. You can upload those into Collaborate. And then once you do that, it shows as a series of panels, and you click on it, and then you can advance through, and it would be in the middle of the Blackboard screen. You'd have the file, and you would give a presentation that way. And I had said that there's some shortcomings. There can be some shortcomings. Files could be too big. Files can cut off. Like mine was like the bottoms and the edges were not going. And I also was noticing my system was lagging. So the positive of sharing a presentation via a file like that is that I would still be able to see the chat panel and be able to fully engage with you, but I felt like it was slowed down. You can also share a file, any file. You can share any kind of file by just sharing your entire screen, opening the file, and just the students get to see your computer. So there's that option as well. So you can also, I did not mention this, but you can also put files into the whiteboard and do some highlighting and things like that. But it's not incredibly responsive. It's not the most responsive system I've seen, but you can use some of those as far as documents. Does that make sense? And if you need any further help, Michael, I can kind of work with you and show you.
Yeah, it takes time to digest, but I think I can digest it. Yes, you're
okay.
Yeah, you're defining document as a kind of an umbrella word to have any content to sell, whether it's PowerPoint or whether it's file or anything. So document is a general word.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
You can upload an image, you can upload a Word document, a PDF, a PowerPoint, an Excel file. You can upload files. You can also share files on your screen. Okay. Monroe, did you have a question, or is that a hand from some time ago?
Hey, that's well, this is not my hand, but I might as well ask you a quick question. You did mention that the Blackboard Collaborate will no longer be functional after this semester. Is that right? And we have to all go to Blackboard Ultra.
I did not see. I just saw something about there's going to be more limited support in December of 2020.
Oh.
I don't know if it means it's going. I don't have full information. I just wanted to mention that I did see some communication. I should pursue that a little further, but I would recommend you start working with Ultra because it's going to be the Collaborate Classic is going to be phased out.
Sure,
so you still have time to use it, but it would be, that's why I kind of focused on Ultra so that you would get up to speed. They're very similar. Once you get into the room, they're identical. It's just the entry point and the kind of the display, and then also the fact that you have more than one room with the Ultra. You have multiple. You can do a session or the regular room with Collaborate Ultra, which gives you more options, but it takes a little bit of time to figure those out. Nancy, did you have a question?
Did you just say that Collaborate and maybe Collaborate Ultra might be phased out? Maybe.
Not Ultra, no.
Oh. Okay.
I'm saying that the original, the classic experience, there's going to be more limited support. I saw something about December 2020, so I would recommend getting up to speed. We are using Collaborate Ultra, and it is not being phased out. They're just up. The Blackboard company is upgrading to Ultra as their main platform for sessions. Okay. Nancy, did you? I know that you have a question. Yes, Mohammed.
Yes. Can we use? Why can't we use Zoom or any other platform?
So currently, Triton does not support Zoom accounts. We do not offer, we do not have it built into Blackboard. We do not pay for Zoom accounts. We do not, as far as like from a help and tech support, we do not support Zoom usage. Now, that being said, I do know there are instructors that use Zoom in their courses. It's not, there's not anything that's like contraband or really horrible about using it. It's just that our school has opted to use Collaborate, and that is the program that we use. So Nancy, did you have a question?
I did have a question. So I use the Blackboard Collaborate Ultra, and I schedule my classes so that I can look at attendance. Am I able to do that just in the general classroom, do you know, or does it only work, the attendance only work when you schedule your classes every week?
That is a question that I'm going to have to look into. You have stumped me. I'm going to have to, I will get back to you on that, okay?
So Nancy, does it keep a record of attendance for you?
Correct. So every time that since I schedule my classes, I click on attendance view, and then it tells me how long, when the student logged in, when they logged out. If I have any type of participation, it also shows their participation and how long they've been logged in. So if they left, my class early and they were only there for 20 minutes instead of an hour, it does tell me.
And you can go back to previous sessions and look at the attendance? Oh, that's the advantage then,
I think
huh?
the answer was sometime earlier this week. I saw something about one of the sessions where there's an attendance room where you can tell when a student has come in or when they've logged out. That's somewhere on Blackboard. Erin might know about it. I don't know. But I saw something like that a couple days ago.
So Nancy, did you turn on the attendance function in your Blackboard shell? Or you just found that Collaborate keeps track of that?
I don't know. I think I was just playing around with it, so I'm not 100% sure how I did that, but I'm able to see the attendance now.
Okay. Mohammed, do you have a question?
No, I didn't.
Okay, Pat, do you have a question or a comment?
I have a comment, if I may.
Oh, sure.
Sometimes you can, sometimes you cannot download a large file. If you encounter such a problem, you need to go to your course in Blackboard and then click on, under the control panel, you click on your course, and then you see how many files you have. If you have too many files, then you need to kind of save them or remove them, delete them, or save them somewhere else. So you make room for your future files to be downloaded. I encountered this problem many times in summer, and I think I
Okay, so I think Mohammed, are you speaking of like your Blackboard course shell? Because there is a space, there is a 2 GB space limit on that shell. So if you do have a lot of materials uploaded into your course, you can actually run into not being able to add any additional materials to your course.
Correct.
I don't think there's as much of this situation with Collaborate, though. I think that there may be a limit, but I think more of a concern with Collaborate is if the files are so big, it just has trouble getting those up into the system to share via Collaborate. So these are kind of separate issues, but that is a very important issue that you bring up, Mohammed.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any questions? I saw that Pat, you had your hand up. Did you have a question or comment?
I don't have my hands up.
No, I saw Pat Knoll has her hand up.
I see another one by Patricia. On my screen, I see a one with a red.
No worries. I just wanted to make sure I addressed all the questions. Anyone else have any comments or questions or want me to review anything we talked about?
I should have put my hand up,
Francis?
but Erin,
That's okay. No
your
worries.
videos when we went on the emergency were fabulous, and I had all my instructors watch them. But what I'm having trouble finding is, remember the one where you showed how to download to YouTube and then to place that YouTube link in your account? If you could send a direct link for that, because I think it was,
Sure.
it might have been Mohammed said that, sometimes you get too much, because if you get too many recordings in there, you can't add a new recording on. And I have instructors that are still leaving those recordings there and expecting students to click on them and figure out which class they missed, which doesn't work.
Yeah, I do. So that is an important thing to mention. The recordings, when they're first recorded via Collaborate, when they are in the system and they're on Blackboard, like when you have that list of recordings, those are still in the cloud. So that actually doesn't count against your data limit. But if you do download those and put those in your course somewhere else, now those are like really files. So, I do understand about offloading videos to YouTube, and then that's a streaming platform, and that's like free of space. But it's a very good usage of kind of offloading data, is using YouTube or Vimeo or a different service. So I agree with you on that. Yes, Julianne.
Will the process of downloading the class and then putting it into YouTube be the same when we work with the Ultra as it was with the Classic?
Yes, the video files are exactly the same. It's just the interface where you find them, and just the, basically it'll open up and you download the files and then upload them. You can edit them if you have some editing software.
Okay, thank you.
Nice. I saw that Pat had a chat. I'm sorry about that. So so Pat, you had a question about asking if the participation function only works in sessions versus the course. Do you mean the participation function as far as, I'm not quite sure. Do you mean like attendance, or do you mean switching people to moderators or presenters? I'm gonna have to look into that a little bit. I'm not as up to speed on the attendance feature of Blackboard Collaborate Ultra. So you all have stumped me on that, because you're active practicing teachers with it right now, and I haven't had as much of that with the attendance. So thank you for bringing that up. I will send some information to all of you about the attendance when I find it. So I'm gonna write myself a note, because I knew there was an attendance feature that's new, and it's kind of being piloted, that's in the Blackboard courses, but I wasn't as aware about the attendance feature in the actual Collaborate sessions. I'm gonna have to check that out. Any other questions, comments, experiences, feelings about Collaborate? Yes, Mohammed.
I've been using just a classic Blackboard Collaborate, and in the past weeks, quite often my computer froze, so I had to log out and log back in, and that made my students very upset. So I'm going to start using Collaborate Ultra starting Monday.
Okay.
Can I just do that? Do I need to send them an email?
So I guess it would depend on how you are allowing access to the sessions now. As far as do you have a link to the Collaborate Classic?
Yes. Yes.
Basic. You have that. So what you would need to do is you would need to either hide or remove that link and make sure that the Ultra link is the one that students are able to access. Yeah, and I would recommend creating some. Okay, so I would hide or delete the Classic link so that the students aren't confused and going into the Classic room. And then I would probably send out an email or an announcement and say, we're going to use Collaborate Ultra. It's pretty much the same. The link is called this. Click on that, and then the room is going to, you know, just how to access it. You just give them instructions. I think any of these things, as long as you tell them and they're reading the emails and the communications, but I would make it as kind of directions as possible, that they don't have multiple ways to enter Collaborate, that you don't have the old Collaborate and the new, you know, Collaborate Ultra and Classic available, because otherwise you're going to have students in different places. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, you could.
I have a
Yes.
question, and I don't know if you actually covered. Is there possibility to view all the students at one screen? Their video, because during exams I only see partially, not the whole class, and I can't scroll through the whole class. Is that simple? And the second part of the question would, does Collaborate have any lockdown browser for us to use while we're giving exams?
I will have to check on that lockdown browser as far as like exam mode. I'm not sure off the top of my head. As far as being able to see everyone at once, unfortunately, it's pretty much the setup that we're seeing here, that the person, you know, that you have like 5, right now I have 5 faces on 5 little squares on my screen, and then I have like one that says +7, and I'm seeing the people that have spoken last. And so yes, I can't scroll through the people, and that is not a great feature of Collaborate. I would agree with you. So I'm going to guess that the Blackboard company is working on that, and I'm going to guess they're getting a lot of questions about that. But unfortunately now there isn't an ability to kind of click through and see every participant as they are in the session.
Okay.
So if they don't have their mic on or their camera on, or if they don't have their mic on and they're not talking, you're not going to see them. Okay. Are there any other questions?
Yes, the Blackboard office hours, it works well for me, the Blackboard Classic. So that's good. You know, that's a good feature, very good feature of that. Yes. And my question is attendance. Right now I'm taking attendance, but in Blackboard Classic, is it okay? You're not able to see everyone in Blackboard Classic for attendance purposes. So is that going to be a feature in the Ultra, Blackboard Ultra, when we get to that?
Well, so Ultra still does not show all of the participants all at once. Nancy had pointed out, she's much more savvy and up to current contemporary information as far as this attendance feature. I honestly did not know about this, that you could like kind of track attendance on, but I think that has a lot to do with the CTE is still using, we're in Classic right now, we're using that. Sure. So we're gonna switch to that next semester.
So yeah, so if you use the Ultra, you can track your attendance under View Reports, and there's not like a participation feature, but if you use polls or anything like that, you can actually see the results or like the participation of your students. That's whatever question you put on the polls. But you have to hit View Reports, and then you have to click on each class session.
And you have to do that in Blackboard. You don't do that within the Collaborate interface. So that would be a whole Blackboard situation where you're running reports. So I'm gonna, and Pat, I'm gonna check on that and see if it works in the regular room. That may be one of the reasons why you would be very motivated to use a session if you're tracking students. So I'm gonna come up with some documentation. I will email it to all of us that were in this session. And thank you, Nancy, for bringing that up. I really appreciate it. It's a lot of different moving gears to kind of keep track of, and I appreciate it a lot. Okay, I heard Monroe. Did you have another question or comment?
No, but thank you for that.
I did have another question.
Sure.
If you accidentally kick out a student, is there a way for them to rejoin if it's in a class session?
That's another. You are just full of the questions I'm not able to answer off the top of my head.
Only
Let me
because
check on that one.
this happened to me. It was I accidentally kicked out a student, and then they were not able to rejoin. So another student actually had shared their screen somehow with them. I don't know how they did it, and then she was able to listen to the lecture, but I could not bring the student back on. It was
that was via a scheduled session in Ultra,
correct.
right?
Yes.
Because I'm assuming in the regular room they'd be able to get back in. Look that up.
Well,
I've never kicked
Nancy,
anybody out. So.
would that be the same problem if somebody lost their connectivity, you know, because they're kind of bouncing in and out? Would they not be able to get back into a session?
No, they can come back in. It was just I think I didn't want to let them in early, and I think I was trying to talk to another student, so I accidentally removed them from the session until class started, and then she couldn't log in when the session actually started. So I probably should have used a different classroom to talk to the other student before class and then that way they could have all logged into the class on time. So.
But have you had students who lost, you know,
yes.
they're bouncing in and out, and they're able to come back in? Okay.
And and they can come back. Okay.
Okay. Okay, good.
Okay, so these are important questions I'm going to follow up on and send some documentation. I think being mindful of everyone's time, it's 12:03. I want to thank you all for being part of this and joining me in the session. I hope you have a great weekend. If you have any questions, you can email me directly. It's Erin Stapleton at triton.edu, or we are continuing our great team of BB Help. So it's BB Help at triton.edu. That's been an ongoing feature since March, and we are still helping. You can email the group, and there's 4 of us in that group, and you can get some further information if there's anything that comes up along the way as you're teaching. But I want to thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye now.